When it comes to energy efficiency and comfort, homeowners are always thinking about insulation, and manufacturers are always trying to make insulation better. But this company, well, they say they have got the best insulation in the entire world. Now, that's a bold statement, but here at Cabot, they figured out how to trap air and inhibit the transfer of heat. One way heat is transferred is through the movement of air, literally air molecules moving around and colliding into each other. So insulation is about slowing down air movement. Now, some insulation like fiberglass and cellulose, well, they slow air down, but there's actually big gaps between all those fibers, and the air molecules can still collide into one another. But imagine if you could put a cage around the air molecules so they couldn't collide. Well, that would be great insulation. Cages around air? Sound a little far-fetched? Well, Dovel tells me they actually do make them, and they make them out of silica. You know, glass. And they call it Aerogel.
Although this material is 90 or 95% air, it's 2 times better than still air.
So insulation that's made of air. Okay, I guess I'm still on board. But this stuff, well, it looks like no insulation I've ever seen. In my left, I can feel the ice cube. Feels like an ice cube. It's cold. And in my right, I pretty much just feel the weight.
Yeah.
I can barely feel the temperature of that ice cube.
And if you look closely, this one is already melting the ice cube, whereas the other one is not.
And that's just it's like a tiny thin layer, like a microscopic layer of this stuff. Next, Dovel shows me how this stuff reacts to super cold. This dry ice drops the temperature to 100 below zero.
And what we'll do is we'll just see how fast water will freeze on one and not on the other. So...
It freezes just about instantly. But on the aerogel side, it will take over a minute to freeze. So it works in the bitter cold, but how about in the heat? This metal plate is being heated to 350 degrees, but the aerogel portion only reads 220. That's more than a 100-degree difference. But still too hot to touch, right?
But I'm going to have you touch 220 degrees.
You will not. All right, here I go. Wow. How can I touch that? Why is it that I can put my hands on there?
Since this is mainly air, there's not much heat that the coating can have. On top of that, since this is a very good insulating material, the heat that is coming from the bottom of the plate cannot transmit fast enough to your hand.
Okay, now I'm impressed. But is it really better than your run-of-the-mill insulation? To prove it to me, Dovel has set a wall mock-up on top of a freezer to see whose insulation keeps out the cold best. Rigid board, fiberglass, aerogel granules, or aerogel blanket.
So the way to look at it is using an infrared camera which shows surface temperatures. And what you can see is the cold spots indicate, which are shown in blue, are places where the cooler is being able to draw the heat out from this system.
Blue is the coldest, red is the warmest, so this panel right here, which is your aerogel granules, is the winner.
Yes.
And that's an R28. 28. And right next to it, this is probably the worst performer, the greenish yellow. This is the fiberglass, and that's an R13. So your camera doesn't lie?
No.
Neither do you.
I don't.
Well, turns out there's a ton of applications for aerogel, from translucent wall panels to windows and even skylights that are 6 times more insulating than conventional ones. An insulated skylight like this one's going to mean you're running your air conditioning a lot less. From outerwear, how warm is this jacket?
You could climb Everest if you want.
Nice. I've been meaning to climb Everest. To footwear, to drinking bottles, all made out of something they call frozen smoke.